This is Stories from the Hackery, a podcast about the students, alumni, and community members that continue to shape Nashville Software School. Nashville Software School is the nation's first nonprofit coding bootcamp where a person with aptitude and motivation can gain the skills needed for a career in tech. For more information, visit us at NashvilleSoftwareSchool.com.
Welcome back to Stories from the Hackery. I am Mandy Arola, and I have the honor of working with our NSS alumni to help share their stories and their experiences from NSS all the way to getting their first jobs. So today I am joined by Kasey Endsley. She is a graduate of Web Development Cohort 76 and has also had the opportunity to take a few of our ProTech continuing education classes. So Kasey, thank you so much for being here with us today and for sharing your story with everyone. Let's kick it off by sharing a little bit about what you were doing before NSS and what motivated you to make the career switch.
Sure. I began a long time ago, mostly in veterinary medicine. So I worked at an animal shelter and progressed into veterinary technician, eventually surgical technician, very technical roles. And in a way, I kind of had my hands in everything. I really like seeing how everything worked, every position I've worked, every place that I've been. From there, I went into management in a front of house role at a restaurant and then eventually to a movie theater where I found myself taking on more technical tasks, writing data, creating film builds and things like that. And a few years prior to that, I had actually attempted to go to Nashville State to get my computer science degree. Life did not work out. There was an illness in the family. There was a lack of support, a lack of finances. And at the time, that dream just kind of went unrealized. So when I was in a better position to think about how I wanted to grow my career and continue challenging myself, I kept coming back to programming. And when I eventually got enough support, essentially, I felt that I was in a good place and could manage to do so. I decided to take the plunge and go back to Nashville Software School and continue my programming journey in that way, since it was something I dabbled in and enjoyed.
So thinking through that journey as you mentioned you had dabbled in a little bit of it and have had some kind of problem solving type of things in your prior roles. Was there something in particular that drove you to software development and to programming in particular?
I think that kind of stems from just the age I grew up in, the age of computers. I remember getting my first huge desktop computer and using dial-up to get on and go to Neopets. And on Neopets, I would create layouts in HTML for my pet pages and for my guilds and transition into MySpace. And in a way, it was just that problem solving, thinking through something, creating a solution and watching it actually happen and come to fruition. Something about that always tickled me and was always in the back of my mind as something I wanted to pursue further. I think I found that I wasn't challenged enough in a lot of the roles that I've taken on. And I found myself becoming bored and just wishing for something more. So having the opportunity to challenge myself and also make, frankly, a better life for myself, those two things hand in hand, was really attractive to me. And as I got older, it was something I realized I really needed to invest in going forward.
So you talk about some of the challenges and the problem solving. Can you share a moment that felt particularly challenging or that where you went through that challenge and on the other side was that aha moment and that reward that helps you grow and feel like you've got that challenge you were talking about that you were lacking at your prior jobs?
I think going into the full-time boot camp, it's a lot of information very fast. We're doing a lot in our curriculum and with our colleagues, our classmates. To be frank, the whole thing was extremely difficult. Just kind of diving into these new technologies and languages. I found it to be more forward than the few classes I had taken at Nashville State, simply because I think they were more hands-on versus the theory and the learning. We're actually in there building every single day when I was at NSS. And getting to our first capstone, where it was like, okay, it's time to actually show what you can do and build something on your own, was extremely daunting and extremely difficult. But working together with my classmates and actually coming through with a product that I could see, that was kind of my first moment of, I can really do this. I have seen now that I can do this and what we can do when we have just guidance and instruction that I feel like I hadn't received anywhere else before. That was a big moment for me because in the first couple months, there is a lot of doubt when you're doing something totally new for the first time. But our instructor was nothing but supportive and was always willing to lend an ear and help us with anything that we had. But going through those first few months and then seeing our first viable product, that was a huge breakthrough moment for me.
That's awesome. So you talked a lot about having that community around you. And that's something like software development is not a solo career, right? You're working on teams and you're building things together. And how helpful was having that kind of environment to where you're learning and building projects together as a cohort and or in smaller groups to your learning process?
I would say for me, it was extremely beneficial. To be very frank with you, it's something that I've previously lacked in my life. Just knowing that you're supported, just feeling supported, it affords you so much confidence. It affords you freedom to feel like you can make a mistake or learn something new and fail, but fail towards success. You make mistakes and then you learn from those mistakes. And I feel that the community here is very open minded and honest about that. And they encourage you to make those messy mistakes so that you can learn from them. And just to someone like me, that was just phenomenal. The community here, just even from when I signed up and was discussing with the financial aid team, various administrative individuals as I was getting prepared for these classes, it's truly something that's very unique and that I feel afforded me much of my success in this program.
Awesome. Well, we love to hear that from the start all the way to the end, right? That community
Truly.
is coming through and answering questions and helping folks find their right spot in their path at NSS. That's great to hear. So one of the things after you graduated from boot camp, we have some continuing education classes that we have been offering to not only NSS seekers, but we also make available to the community as a part of our ProTech programs. So eligible folks that are job searching, maybe they've graduated from a computer science program in town and they are looking to get their career started, they can come to our continuing education classes through ProTech, which is funded in part by a grant with the state of Tennessee. And you were able to take a few of those classes after graduating to keep giving you additional skills, helping continue coding. So tell me a little bit about the classes that you decided to take and what helped you decide which ones that felt right to add to your skill set after the full stack boot camp.
Sure. I feel that the full stack bootcamp, there's so much focus on actually writing code, how to make things work locally versus globally. So I feel like the cloud deployment course was a natural next step in learning how this actually works in the real world, coming from someone who has no working experience aside from NSS. It really furthered my understanding of what happens after you've written this on your IDE on your computer. Where do you go from there? So it was a lot of great information. We walked through a lot of the AWS services, I learned about pipelines and how to maintain something that's actually been deployed. So that was just really a natural next step in learning how things work together for me. And then from the cloud deployment course, I ended up taking the agentic AI course, which was, again, just another tool that you could add to your toolkit and kind of changes the way that you code, or rather adds a new layer to how you can code and what you can do. So that was really eye-opening as well. And now I'm using Cursor in ways that I hadn't imagined before, just exploring a new code base even. It makes it so much easier to have that tool on hand to help me understand what I'm going into, which I know will be very beneficial in a working environment when I'm inheriting these other code bases that I haven't yet worked on. So not using it as a crutch by any means. And I really appreciate the way that instructors have taught us to use AI tools. But I just think it's such a helpful addition to what we've already learned.
Yeah, that's great. We surveyed all of our alumni and also employers around the community to find out what additional skills made sense when we were building these courses. And so certainly both the cloud deployment piece and agentic AI were definitely hot topics. And for building on what you've already learned in the full stack program to help diversify your skill set, but then also getting you even more prepared for your first job and adding those skills. Did you feel like those extra classes, did they help in your search? Did they help you feel more confident in your job readiness?
Absolutely. They did make me feel more comfortable in just kind of expanding my knowledge. The world of tech is huge. It is vast, and there's so much I still don't understand. So anytime I can learn something new, it does make me feel more confident. It helps me understand how things get from point A to B. And of course, everyone loves a shiny new certificate to show off on LinkedIn. But I think just showing that you're willing to keep learning and keep growing, I think that's a big asset to any employee. I once worked in hiring, and anytime an employee was continuing their education in their field, that was just a huge green flag for me. So it's beneficial both to, I think, personal growth, but also to professional growth as well.
All right. So while you were going through the boot camp, in addition to learning all of the technical skills and working on the capstone projects, you also had a chance to go through our career development track, where we talk about resumes and networking and mock interviews and all the things that go into a job search, which for some people, that first technical job search can be very daunting. Because most of our grads don't come from a technical background. It's just as important to prepare you for that job search as the technical skills to land that first job. So how did that program help you in your job search and help you feel more confident as you started your job search?
I found them to be just as available and wanting to help as the instructors at NSS, which was great. They offered great resume reviews, suggestions on how to improve our resumes. And the mock interviews, I think, were truly the most helpful part of that. Having come from a different professional background into this one, it was very nice just to talk to other professionals, a lot of who were NSS graduates and had been in our exact same shoes before and truly understood where we were coming from. But the ability to mock interview in a low pressure environment and build those skills was great because it can still be very difficult. Anytime you go to an interview, there's nerves involved. And just having the opportunity to work those out in a less strict environment and receive great feedback was very appreciative. And they had so many opportunities to do so. Even post-graduation, I've received opportunities to do mock interviews, which has been great. So I truly appreciate the work that they've done because they really do want to set you up for success, both in the technical and like interpersonal people skills lane. So I truly feel that they have all the bases covered there.
So thinking about your personal job search strategy, what are some of the things that you did that helped to make you successful in your job search?
I networked quite a bit. This is a vast market. It can be difficult to break into, but the NSS community made that a lot easier and a lot less daunting than I thought it would be. I found the alumni to be very kind, very open, willing to talk. It was easy to go on LinkedIn and find some people and just be very frank and open and say, I really love what you're doing. Can we talk about that and talk about your journey so far? And everyone I reached out to was fantastic in that regard. So I networked. I did focus on companies that I knew had hired NSS students, knowing logically that they have seen people in my shoes and they obviously enjoy graduates. They know what they're working with. They know what they're looking for. And I intentionally applied at a lot of places that I knew had hired graduates before. And eventually I was able to both network with someone who had been a prior student and show interest in our company that did hire local graduates. And that was really my shoe in at that point, was just having worked with someone else. They saw what I could do and they were able to turn that around and make a referral for me. So I think focusing on where your strengths are at, as well as forging genuine connections with people, is a great strategy, because even if they can't offer you a job, maybe they can't do that now, maybe down the line that connection will open something up for you. And regardless of if that ever occurs, learning from people, having just good connections with people, it feels good, and there's always something to learn from it. So I think that was how I went in, with an open mind, with a lot of hope but no expectations, and just forging good connections in the community. I think that will really get you far, in addition to, of course, working hard on the curriculum and building out in your own personal time.
Yeah, that networking piece is so important, right? To be building those relationships and beyond even tech, right? You can find people who know someone who knows someone. And so making sure that you are out there, and I love that you were reaching out to NSS alumni. It's always great to hear that they are very positive back
Pre-time.
and and are willing to help. And that really speaks well of that community. And I love that they're so giving in that way to pay it forward, right? Because they know what it's like to get that job search started and to find your footing. So that's great. If you were to sum it down to one piece of advice that you would give current students who are just beginning their job search, what would that be?
I think ultimately it's going to come down to having a good attitude, taking care of yourself and those around you. That means learning on your own time, taking the time to help teach others, to connect with others, just really believing in yourself and believing in those around you, truly, I think is such a great piece of advice and is what has helped me get through the most difficult times here. Anytime I thought it was too much or I couldn't do it, that I was never going to make it, just the support around me and feeling that and believing in myself and helping my peers, I really think that goes a long way.
I love that. All right, so thinking back to the other side of the journey. So for folks who are thinking about coming to NSS and they're trying to decide if now is the right time to invest in becoming a software developer, what would you say to somebody who's in those shoes? It's, should I make this decision and start a boot camp next year? What would you tell them?
I think if they're already considering it, they know there's a part of them that wants this, that there's something appealing to them innately, whether it's the challenge, whether it's the building. If they're drawn to it, I think they should absolutely do it. These are skills that you can carry with you. These are skills that you can build upon. And frankly, something that's very fun to me, which may be daunting to others, is there is really no ceiling on this. You can take this as far as you want to take it. And it starts with that first step. It's a daunting, scary world, but even seniors that I've talked to, they say AI is a great tool, but it's not replacing people. We are nowhere near that right now, seems to be the general consensus. So I think you should believe in yourself and you should take that chance on yourself, because continuing your education in this way, I think even if it doesn't provide immediate results, it's going to improve your life in some form or fashion, whether or not that's financially. But NSS, I think, has provided the best opportunity to do something like this than I have yet experienced anywhere else.
Kasey, thank you so much for being a part of the NSS alumni, and we know that you're going to pay it forward as well when students start reaching out to you in a few years to get your insights on how to get started in the job market. And I'm grateful that you were here today to share your story. So thank you everyone for listening. You can discover more alumni stories like Kasey's when you visit NashvilleSoftwareSchool.com.